Yes, this was the first week that millions of Apple fans got to have their first experience of the Apple Watch as they started taking pre-orders. But does the device live up to the hype that inevitably comes with Apple devices? To work out that question and many, many others, we have our panel this week. Claire Porter is a technology reporter and Peter Marks is an app developer. Peter, tell me your first impressions of the device.
It's actually smaller than I thought it would be. You know, the glorious Apple, close-up shots of the product actually make it look rather chunky. And
I think
person,
masturbatory might be the word you're looking for when it comes to those videos.
Just so gorgeous. I mean, I want, it's nice to touch. It does look like a quality device, and I'm looking forward to having one on my wrist. So yeah, it was a bit smaller than I thought. I thought the touchscreen worked really well. The digital crown works well. It is.
Can we stop calling it the digital crown?
Well,
it's a knob. It is a knob. I'm sorry.
The knob works well, but I wonder why we've got a knob and a button and all the gestures. It just seems overpowering in all the number of ways that you interact with it.
My first observation was that it was a fair bit chunkier than I expected too. Oh. And it actually... it reminded me of very early generation iPods in the sense it's quite rounded and almost bubble-like. And it's sort of like a throwback to earlier Apple devices. Now, Claire, you are adamant that you are not interested in a wearable device. Why is that?
I've never really been a watch person. The only thing that would encourage me to get a smartwatch is if it could do something that my phone can't, or can simulate what I can do on my phone so that if I leave it at home or at the office that I can attend to things on my wrist as needed. At this point, you can't really do that. It's more of a notification device about things that I need to address on my phone, which I'm already acutely aware of. And for $800, I just can't justify that kind of cost for something that does the same thing as everything else on the market at this point.
Apple will no doubt popularize the market of wearable devices in a way that no other company can. But there are some really nice Android wearable devices out there. I think the one that pops up on this show quite a lot is the Moto X, which I think you were saying earlier that if you were going to get a wearable device, that would be the one. For people that are listening to this, describe for us what it is about the Moto that kind of appeals to you.
The Moto X is integrated with Google Now. It's basically the operating system that runs the watch. Google Now, for those not in the know, is...
It's sort of predictive.
Yeah, it's like a predictive calendar. If you've got a meeting, it won't just tell you that you need to leave on time. It'll also tell you what the weather is like, the best route that you might be able to take to get there, the traffic conditions on the way. It's really intuitive, and the Moto X has been designed around that. And I really think whereas Apple just says it's time for you to leave for your meeting now, Google plans your trip for you and Google plans your day, and it knows when and if you need to be notified.
I think when you say Google knows, you need to say it in like a Big Brother voice. Google knows.
Google knows.
But the other thing with Google Now is that you can actually get it as an app on your iOS device.
Technology, it's a great technology. It's context aware. It knows where you are. It knows where you normally go at different times.
And it doesn't make you choose. So I don't have to go full Android to use the Moto X. It works perfectly with my iPhone, which I'm not like an Apple fanboy. I quite like the Android operating system as well. And I think... if my preference would be for Android, but...
I want to drill down a little bit into the specifics of the watch, because this is our first time where we've actually gotten our fingers on it. As an interface, is it intuitive enough? Is it easier or harder than you thought, Peter?
It's harder than I thought. I found it quite confusing. And if you look at the layout of all of the different gestures, so you've got the different swipes, you've got the taps on buttons, you've got a button on the side, you've got the force touch press in the middle of the screen, you've got the digital crown and pushing the digital crown. That's a lot of different ways of interacting with it. And yes, I found it a little bit confusing to use.
The further along you go, the less of those functions you tend to use over time, particularly for people like my parents, where they really only want to be able to use, one or two functions. The fact that you have to use an entire language, I just think is going to be pretty alienating. And if you're not getting the most out of your watch because you don't know how or because you don't have the time to learn it, I think that's a bit of a risk factor for Apple.
Didn't we always have to do that with any bit of new technology, that any bit of new interface that came along? We had to learn typing, we had to learn the mouse, we had to learn the trackpad, we
Usually
had to learn
it's one
multi-touch.
thing at a time, though.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Touchscreens, the multi-touch, that capacitive touchscreen interface is so good, though. That was so simple. I mean, when we got tablets that you can see babies using tablets now, that was a real break from the past. There was no more mouse. There was no more of that metaphor, you know, moving here, moves there. It was suddenly direct. And I feel like now everyone knows how to do that. In fact, people know how to do it without even being told. But, you know, the genius thing Apple will do is they will teach everyone how to use the watch in the ads. So by the time you go to the store after seeing TV ads every day, you'll say, yeah, I know what to do with this.
I'm not convinced about that. I mean, I still show up to my dad's place and he thrusts the iPad at me or the iPhone at me and says, oh, I can't work this bloody thing. Can you fix it for me?
Can you please do the rest of the show in your dad's voice?
Oh, with the greatest of pleasure.
Wait, what
Sorry,
even
Dad.
is that accent?
It's Irish.
Oh, right.
Irish.
Okay. I just thought it was leprechaun. I was confused. I'm half Irish. I can make that joke. It's
I
fine.
really hope my dad's not listening right now. He doesn't sound that Irish.
Hello, Mr. Claire's dad. All right, are you convinced? Are you going to get the Apple Watch or are you going to get an Android Wear device? Let us know in the comment section down below. We'd love to know what you're thinking with wearable devices. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, you should subscribe because it's good and things. If you're watching this on Facebook, you probably already subscribed. So thank you. Bye.